Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Tabletop Obscura presents Let's Build a Superdungeon. I'm just doing a little bit of a warm-up just to start with and working on stuff. It is dangerous to upset the Anati, though they are actually pretty hard to upset more. But no, welcome everyone. Yeah, I'm just kind of doing a warm-up at the moment, working on one of the market town maps that I'm doing up for Hoist the Colors. No, I want that. But how is everyone? Hope everyone is well. Needs to put the lotion on the skin or it gets the hose again. Yeah. It is actually starting to get pretty hot here in Australia, so getting hosed down, probably not a terrible idea. But welcome in, Lakudos. Chill day, be making sure my stuff is in order to start streaming again. Yeah. No, get them veils. I do have to actually make an announcement on my server regarding Gatewalkers, but I need to talk to the players for it first. Unfortunately, the issues with streaming, etc. I do kind of want this to be a little bit uneven. I'm currently at the moment just working on... This is supposed to be a Fight Club kind of thing. You're gonna be way too small for what I want, aren't you? Yeah. So we're gonna switch the colors around a bit. And we're gonna turn the shadows back on because I'm remembering to do that. But yeah, the plan for this morning, we're kind of in between floors at the moment, so I'm being a little bit more flexible. And I had a Pathfinder game last night, so I'm still kind of recovering from that. Not that I was running it or anything, just... Oh man, it was so good. It was so good. Where is... I need the pop tool. There we go. Thick rope. No, let's talk about it. Sorry, cat. I'm gonna put you on use layer 2. I was way too quick with that. No. I just want a circle. That's all. there, there. If that works. Actually, can I move it? If I can move it, it'll be fine. No, it's not gonna let me move it. Fuck it. What happened to your game last night? Got some exciting stories. Should have been mine, and you just got learning the wonder and horror of a black pudding. So ironically, we did it. I'm in Pathfinder Society, and we recently just moved to a new location. Like last night was our first time at the new location, because we try to go from gaming stores for obvious reasons. And we were at a kind of a franchise one here in Australia called Good Games, but it was kind of dingy. They kept on pushing us to the corner, and there was always like a very loud Magic the Gathering draft that it was always happening right next to us, so it was hard to hear anything. But I recently found a new store nearby that's independently owned, really nice, really good people, and we started running Pathfinder Society out of there, and it's been really good. Better location and everything. As for what actually happened last night, turning the shadows off. Blood? I think I need blood. I'll just have to change the color. That's easy done though. Boop. As for what happened last night, because we're at a new place and we have a couple of new players, we're doing like introduction games again, which I don't mind at all. So we're introducing a new player to some of the basic concepts of Pathfinder 2. They were using a pre-gen. They were using Valeros the Fighter. And I did find it really interesting, because for all the people who kind of complain about... It's not so much a complaint. Like, I see a lot of people go, oh, just charge into combat, swing 3 times. And it's like, well, you're probably better off just assuming you're only going to be hitting once, or at least swinging once, and work your economy around that. But the 5e player that we had last night, who was doing his intro game to PF2, he kind of instantly latched onto this idea that, you know, I'm probably only going to be attacking once per turn, even as a fighter. So he was moving around the map, he was raising a shield, engaging with consumables. It was so great to see. But we were doing a rescue mission for a fungus leshy who had gotten lost in a swamp. It's really nice to see people engage with the mechanics to make the game shine. Yeah, like, I don't know. For those of us who have been playing it for a while, I think we have this tendency to get lost in the weeds of it. And it's always good to, you know, see new players coming in and being like, oh, okay, so I'm better off doing things this way. And it's like, yes, no, that's amazing, love that. I've done that one. I do really like the PFS repeatables, being able to shuffle up the encounters. Yeah, no, I got that feeling, because we had to choose. We were given a budget for our travel expenses, and we had to choose how how we were going to get there. Like, we had a choice of a couple of different ships to use. So I get the feeling there could have been some encounters that happened on the way. And there was a talk of a sewer that we could have gone into that we never really did. I'm actually kind of happy with that. You picked that one too, did you? The guy from the Pathfinder Society who gave us the job were like, yeah, no, we're giving you this money. We are going to be like checking you for being frugal and stuff. So we're like, yeah, we'll take the cheapest boat we possibly can. There was much regretting. I'm just gonna leave that there for now and move on to something else. That's nummy. There we go. Yeah, it is just because as players we didn't want excess luxury, which the others were kind of presented as. Yeah. Look, in hindsight, we probably should have gone for the medium option, because I get the feeling the encounters would have been a little bit different if we had gone there quicker. But que sera sera. I just think these are really pretty bookshelves and I want to use them. There we go. Do I have one that'll fit in between? I'm doing fiddly when I can just zoom in. There we go. I've only gone through lines of Ketapesh once. And I thought it was pretty fun. I could just put that in there. That's so much better. Well, I got it selected. Doesn't matter much, but the lore of the encounters changes up along with the enemies. Yeah. No, I did see that. I currently have a throne scroll at the moment for the big Pathfinder Society Foundry VTT pack. Can't wait to get that funded. I really want to run it on stream. But that said, going back to, like I said, I'm probably going to have to make an announcement, talk to my players about it. But I'm probably not going to be starting Gatewalkers until the new year. Just with the timing and everything that's going on at the moment, I just don't think it would be a good idea to start it before January. Well, I mean, pretty much. It's just a really weird time of the year to start anything like that. Because there's Christmas parties and there's just general family stuff. Just so many different individual things that can play against it. Looking forward to it. Been interesting Gate Wars, but I don't see myself already playing it soon. Having actually read up on it and gone through a lot of the ancillary material for it, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm currently in a season of Ghost Game. It is a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it immensely. Actually, that game's tonight. I gotta keep that in mind. I'm not used to actually being a player. Though, it is getting better. Display? Nope. Like Abomination, I like the idea of a more settled game where you can build up relationships and have a safe space. I like a hubland. I like a place where you can always kind of return to safely and you know you're gonna be good to go. I know what comes up when I put in animal. Just cause, okay, so not that. So we have horse. Do we have sheep? We do have sheep. Nice. What about goats? Nope. Didn't think so. Alright. Now we need to break up that space a little bit, so we're gonna put you there. It is one of the things I really enjoyed about Abomination Vaults, just having that hub lands that people could rest at, rely on, attack every now and again. Really gave the place a sense of belonging. That's... Now let's grab a table. Easy place to naturally introduce side quests and for people for RP orientated folks to get in them. Yeah. Oh, did I forget to turn the shit? Fucking... You know what? I can just... There we go. I also love in the vault turning floor 6, the worm people floor, into a much more welcoming place. We did much the same. Like by the time they got there, the place was already they had already established a bar upstairs. But it was still a lot of fun. Yeah, there's literally a time, like... I brought this up last night. I've actually been bringing it up a lot lately in, like, design circles and stuff like that when talking about Pathfinder 2. And as much as I liked running Abomination Vaults, I really don't recommend it as, like, a first foray into GMing Pathfinder 2 or even playing it. Like, there's some good bits to it, but it's a case of it's just so swingy at times. I want to have a better look at Rusthenge when the Foundry module for it comes out, because I'm hoping I can replace that as my recommended. I've taken a liberal editorial hand to AV. Yeah, it's what I did too. Love it to death, but it needed some changes. You're mixed because it does make a really good follow-in for the beginner box, and you can use Troubles in Otari. I think if you're going to do it as an introductory adventure, you just have... You don't really alter the levels for it at all. So people run straight in from the beginner's box, and then you start AV from the top floor and go down. Players will have a bit of a level bump, but it's fine. They're gonna need it for those first initial floors. Hey Juliet, how are you? Makes the experience more welcoming, and I think the place works with minor editing. Mostly when the party want to engage in diplomacy, scrub off and the monster attacks you part. Yeah. It does that a lot, unfortunately. No, I'm at 1. Still not over the fact that my beepsy numbers. Hey, I thought they were good. These are way too big for what I want. I'm going to shrink them down. Who doesn't want to kiss boo-boos away? Right! Though you might want to switch it from actual hit points just to temporary hit points. That's something I've thought about as I was going live. And then book. I just wish I had more variants of cats. Certain toadstools. Kiss It Better had actual hit points. You might want to switch to temporary hit points. Just as a general balance thing. What do I need? Let's look up alchemy, see what comes up. I look up alchemy, that's what I get. I love my wooden spikes for alchemy. Potion. I get an onion? Alright. We are gonna need somewhere to put those though. Actually, that does give me an idea for that place. Alright. And yes, I'm gonna be jumping around a little bit today. Turn on the snap. And bunk. Didn't think anything would come up. Oh, something that I've been recently thinking about with Pathfinder 2, and I'll throw it to the people who are in chat at the moment. With the remaster changes to the Witch, they've got a couple of combat options in. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, that seems a little bit weird, all things considered. But I was thinking about it a little bit more. I wish they had, like, bunk beds. That's what I really wish they had. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do? These beds probably won't be staying uniform like that. I'm gonna switch them out in a second. I just need to get an idea of general space I'm working with. We want wood, hee. Well, there's a bunch of the new witch options that kind of have melee as a thing. Like your familiar has to be in close combat or flanking someone for them to work. And it was like, well, that's kind of dumb because, one, you don't really want your familiar too much to be in danger. But also, witches aren't that good for the combat when it comes down to it. Like, they go alright, I guess, but... And I was looking at it, and I saw that they had the feat there for, like, the witch combat options. So, nails, hair, and something else that kind of escapes me at the moment. But the big one I wanted to kind of highlight was hair. Because I was thinking about it. And I was like, yeah, you want your +4 for intelligence as your casting stat. But you can have your athletics level up at a much faster rate than your standard to hit or standard combat proficiency. Well, that's kind of what I'm getting at, Ninzog. So I was thinking about it, and I was like, well, you don't really get expert proficiency with your unarmed attacks as a witch until, what, 11, 13, something like that? But you can get expert in athletics by level 3. Master at 7. So, what I was thinking was, you grab a witch, you grab the hair option, because that has a bunch of the athletic stuff built into it, like grapple and stuff. And instead of always trying to go for the hit, go for the grapple, and go for the disarm and the trips and stuff like that. And yeah, no, that's fine. And chair. Because we're going to be charitable, haha. Under. It has interesting potential and combat maneuvers got love in the remaster. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Because the Witch also has access to a bunch of spells and stuff that help with that. It's something I actually do want to try out. Tertiary skill actions is something that becomes worth thinking about on an in-class that gets extra boosts. Send the familiar and I get the trepidation there, but I also feel like familiar is just kind of there a lot of the time. Glorified refocus, self-heal paperweight. It is a classic problem that has always existed. Either the familiar is just kind of there, or it's the spotlight. They get the familiar on the short rest, it dies no big. They can bring it back, it's fine. Like, rules is written, I get that. But from experience, I know players get very upset when their familiar dies. Anus Hag? Anus? How is that pronounced? I want to say Anus. But yeah, I think there's strength ones as well. With all the grappling and stuff. And then we go back to our object tool. Have a ranger of animal companion who doesn't want their pet to die. Exactly. Like, we joke a lot about it. We joke about it here a lot at the Obscure, but I do legitimately feel bad when I hurt people's animal companions. Not to the point where I'm going to stop doing it if it's put in front of me, but I do not relish those Mat 20s. I think that with familiar narrative can do a lot. Like narratively, you can just say it gets proved to your patrons plain or whatever. And I agree with that. And I think if it's established a bit better from the get-go, it's better. Like I was talking to the new player last night, and he was asking about animal companions and familiars and what's the difference between them in 5e and Pathfinder 2. And I was like, well, in Pathfinder 2, your familiar can change day to day. Like, you can switch out their abilities and what they look like. And he was like, so just one day it could be a dog and one day it could be like a bird or a cat. And I was like, yeah, no, absolutely. And in hindsight, it feels obvious to me. But having it being that mutable and just being like an extra dimensional creature like an Eidolon makes a lot of sense. Like, we talk about them like they're like an actual cat or an actual dog, but if we think about them instead in terms of like Eidolons or extraplanar creatures, it makes the narrative for them a lot easier to just wrap your head around. When the familiar dies, the witch suddenly tries to do all the things the patron tells them not to do when the familiar is back. Well, that is one of the things that they're leaning into with the remaster witch. It's that whole idea of it's wrapping the familiar a little bit more strongly into the whole this is sent by your patron to help guide your journey and to help influence you. And some of the new witch patrons, their flavoring is what I would say not 100% warm and fuzzy. Some of them are quite dark, which I like. But in a lot of ways, I prefer the narrative feel of what could be done with it. Yeah, they're just sort of a ball of energy until they become a specific familiar. Very abstract, yeah. Very abstract. It's honestly something I want to dig into more for a future Sinclair's product. Like, I really do want to dig into the familiars more. And I think with the remaster stuff, there's a lot of fertile ground there for doing all sorts of weird and wonderful things. I do like the extra details, helps frame the patron, but leaves a lot of room for what the patron can be, yes. I need to read through what they did with the bot, actually, particularly with the muses. Also, even with animal companions, you can do running away and licking wounds as opposed to dying. I do actually agree with that, Juliet. Once again, we will go back to the whole idea of Rule 0. Not a Rule 0, a Session 0. And if you have a player who has an animal companion, just sit down and discuss with them. Just be like, hey, so you have an animal companion. How do you want to handle it being reduced to 0? Like, how do you want to handle it as being... It goes to 0 hit points. Do you want it to be bloodied and dying, or do we need to have a longer conversation about, you know, it runs off to lick its wounds, etc.? Hello, Atom! Good morning! It is very much morning here. Let's say that I'm in morning. What are you, arrow tip? No, I got an idea. Because we currently be working on the garrison. Like the rats sort of assume a lot of them die, but head, shoulders, and knees go and have a recruitment drive. I tend to have the idea that the Brine crew do a lot of press ganging. But recruit drive is also absolutely a good way to put it. What I normally GM animal companions is that they enter dying as normal. Yeah. But I feel it's one of those things that you discuss with the player. You don't have to be polite. Actually, no. We're gonna center those. Turn snap on, because I have a feeling they should be fine. Yeah, that's fine. By roar, are they supposed to just die? Familiars and companions? I'm assuming they went into dying. By roar, familiar is a little bit fuzzier. They have hit points like any other creature, though. So they are supposed to just die. But rule 0, if you have discussed with your player beforehand that, hey, if your player goes, hey, I'd rather not my cute and fuzzy puppy dog to accidentally die thanks to an errant fireball, I'm kind of a bit chill to meet them halfway on that. I mean, a bad guy killing the party's animal companion and getting away is a good way to make the party hate them and actively wanting to kill them. Yes, I do absolutely agree with that. However, keep in mind that there are a lot of people out there with some very existing traumas regarding animal death. Like, people of my age, for instance, were raised on things like Watership Down and Animals of Farthing Wood, so it can get a little bit tense. Oh, I didn't get the emoji. I don't know what they all mean, sorry. I am old. I can't even use the term poggers without being like, without even cringing at myself. What? My first Pathfinder character was a wizard with familiar faces. That wasn't a real creature, but a congealed magical substance like prestidigitation. Mangle was he was reaching the malleable nature of magic by manifesting different phenomenon in the form of a creature. See, I like that. Yeah, Watership Down is a good movie, but oh boy. It's one of the things, Julia, we never actually went into with the session 0. I don't think we ever really discussed it. And that was a mistake on my part as GM. Bookcases. So we're all about the books here, apparently. My witch got an animal companion too, and we play it as another creature from the patron. That's how I tend to do it. I was running Extinction Curse for a little while, and when the players got high enough as a champion to get their mount companion, and we treated it mostly as a gift from their god. I was also going out the rules Ian was using, and I am a precocious enough player. I would have spoken up if I had an issue, yeah. I trust you would have as well. It actually really works for a haphazard nature. We're gonna go carpets. Turn that off for a moment, and then turn it back on again so I don't forget. Okay, that is looking a little better. I'm checking to see if I have a actual street lamp. And I had the other stream of familiar animal companion's death, for which using final sacrifice on their familiar. Yeah, look. First time I saw that spell, I was like, okay, that's something interesting you can do with your summoned creatures. And then I saw that you can use it on a familiar, and I was like, okay, that's a bit dark. Street beat. Yeah, okay, I get that. You know what? While we're here, we're just gonna default these for now and then fix them up later. Less dark when your familiar is a walking hand. I miss the walking hand. I'm pretty sure they brought it back in Book of the Dead, but I'm not sure if they did as a advanced familiar or not. Sorry, just doing something. There we go. Alright. Yep, that's a limiter. Cool. Final Sacrifice level for level is one of the best damaging spells, so there is that. More dark when your Leshy explodes than a Leshy. Should have made Sunshine Druid. It is back as a specific familiar. Okay, awesome. I was not sure, and it's always good to check. Well, there's a new wizard feat in the remaster. When you summon a creature, it does damage in like a radius. Like I think it's like explosive arrival or something like that. So it turns up, does damage in a radius around it. And I was just thinking, after a round or two, like once it's survived, you can just do Final Sacrifice. So its arrival explodes, and then when it leaves, it also explodes. Ostentatious arrival or something like that. Came from Summoner and spread over, I think. Yeah, I'd say so. Just gonna put a chest there. No, I want something. There we go. Much better. Bam. Is a great ability for a summoner. Explosive unseen servants are evil. Yeah, no, you absolutely could do it with unseen servant, couldn't you? Wow, thanks, I hate it. I don't, actually. Right at him? Like, double check to make sure it works. Ooh! Oh, don't mind me. This place is actually really coming along. I am super happy with it so far. It does when you summon them. They're a mindless minion, and it isn't even evil. Yay! Not technically evil. But no, I do get that. Well, the idea here is this is supposed to be one, like, suburb of Miranda Bay. For Hoist the Colors, because I want players a town location that they can go from shop to shop and interact with, like, shop NPCs and stuff like that. And also, eventually, Miranda Bay is going to be attacked, so having a full tactical map that the players are familiar with is a good idea. No spoilers. I feel like people know me well enough that at some point Miranda Bay will be attacked. The extra details associated therein, that's a different story altogether. And yes, apparently nothing is evil anymore, that we have moral relativism. It is why they changed Unseen to Phantasmal Servant, remove the invisible tag so that they wouldn't be held in after you get your first explosions off. You can make even the act of summoning itself evil if that's your flavor. Well, we always used to joke about the whole thing of, because one of the summon creatures in Pathfinder 1 was Summon Tiefling. And we always had the, like, funny joke of you just summon some guy. Like, he's having dinner with his family and all of a sudden he gets summoned into this combat. Has never raised a sword in his life, and then suddenly he's like, oh god, I could use a sword now. What is this? The metaphysics are kind of vague on whether you're pulling real creatures from real lives and sending them to die. Yeah. I tend to, flavor it as this is an extra dimensional creature you pulled from somewhere. Time mages get a variant of that summoning alternatives yourselves. I think that's a cool ability as well. I just think it's neat. At the same point though, I found out recently there are no time spells. No, Adam, check it up. There are no spells with the time trait. Yeah, no, there's a lot of spells that are like, hey, this is, you alter the flow of time around your, yeah, you alter the flow of time around the target of this spell. They are hasted they are quickened one for the period of time of the spell. Or, you disjoint someone in time, but none of them actually have the time trait. And I'll be real with y'all, I kind of hate it. If you cast a spell with the time trait, a hand Tindalo shows up with an invoice. Right. One of the few creatures with the time trait. Well, it's... Adding time trait as a homebrew is something I'm actually looking at right now. Not specifically at this moment, but stuff I'm working on. Okay, how's that look? I don't know. The bar definitely needs something else. Specifically because I want to make a time school of wizard. You're not the only one, Adam. Actually, that might save me some effort. Send me over your draft when you're done. I might make you an offer for it. Must just be on a different layer. I've seen your work in the past though, Adam. I do not have the time at the moment. The almanac is very much imminent, and it has been taking up a little bit of my time amongst everything else. You know what? We're just gonna drop this to 4. What layer are you on? Alright, I need to check this, because that table is... It's above walls. How many of these are above walls? That's not right. Why are all these above the walls? What did I do? Alright, that also needs to have its shadows turned on. And it's funny that some of the things I made more than a year ago are quite similar to some of the changes in the remaster. Yeah, I think there was a lot of us who were already starting to think some of that is true, and I'm pretty sure Paizo was as well. Rename stream title to Pretty Walled. I mean, I can if you like. Let's build a super dungeon. Let's build a pirate village. Am I right? Great minds do think alike. How about we don't have it the same as the... See, I'm not quite sure, because I'm not... The tables need something extra, but I don't think giving them placemats is the right idea. Maybe just some actual fucking plates. I'm sure Paizo is savvy enough to keep abreast of people's homebrews as well. Oh, look. As I always say to people who want to get into design for TTRPGs and stuff, you may never see it, but these people are not unaware of social media. They are lurking, they are watching, they are looking. Stray accessories, mugs, playsets. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Cat, absolutely. In my homebrew world, the way I reflavored the alignment system was how the souls interact with things, not a moral compass, and alignment damage was making the soul interact in the opposite way, so alignment damage was literally soul damage. Yeah, no. I think a lot of people who are digging deeper into a lot of the design aspects of... I need to move that plate in a little bit more so it's not leaning on... There we go. I think a lot of people who are digging into the greater design aspects of Pathfinder 2 are finding the remaster changes to be really good for really interesting reasons. I remember when I had a Lamia art style previewed in one of my posts. Yeah! Look. So, I'm not sure how many people are aware of this, but if you are a designer for Wizards of the Coast, you are pretty much put on a social media gag order. You become exceptionally limited in what you can say on social media, and they would rather it if you just don't say anything on social media whatsoever, including your personal life. Paizo, however, does not have that restriction, but they have NDAs and stuff like that. So yeah, every now and again you'll have a designer just jump in on one of your replies, particularly on Blue Sky, and they'll just say something offhanded or random, but you can extrapolate so much from it. Okay, I am liking the random plates and bowls everywhere. That's actually looking really good. They're gonna be above the walls again, aren't they? It is a great way to stir up interest and makes the community feel noticed, yeah. It doesn't surprise you that once the employees are in a gag order? Yeah. It is quite often said that Wizards of the Coast is our industry's Disney, and it's very accurate in a lot of ways. It's one of those unfortunate things that there's been a couple of people from Paizo who have been picked up by WotC, who had a pretty big social media presence, and as soon as they got the job with WotC, they've just kind of fallen off the map. Hasbra, yeah. When I saw the Lamia art in the book, I went, "Who dang," and felt so flattered. It's always a nice feeling. I'm gonna fix that table, because otherwise it's gonna keep bothering me. And when we come back to the object tool, let's find some bowls. Perfect. Less perfect. I just want a small bowl, not a big one. Fine, we'll shrink it then. See how it is. I will say some of the info that we're getting for Hell of the Wild is causing some stir, which I'm really loving. I always suck at the map making. It's practice. It's just a lot of practice. A lot of practice and a decent map maker. I personally like Dungeon Draft, but whatever is your flavor du jour. It's pretty normal for big companies to discourage developers from putting themselves out there. Yeah, because every now and again you'll say something as a designer and it doesn't reflect well on the company. and they don't like that. But I believe Paizo has just come to the point where it's like, you know what, they're gonna say what they're gonna say. We hired them for a reason. And though we as a company might not stand by it, it's like they're people. Let them be people. It isn't a full-on switcher, but I'm happy to get rare creatures. Yeah. And they're going less of the cursed route, which is what we did with Sinclair's. So I'm absolutely appreciate that. Actually, let's pull out some cards. Do I have a better table? No. No. One shot. DD and Dungeon Alchemist. I need to mess around with Dungeon Alchemist more. For my maps, I usually make them on the go in physical, mostly be inspired by real schools, banks, or museums I went to. It's what I used to do as well. But because I've switched to more digital tools nowadays, just with what I do now, mostly streaming, etc. Do I have a coins pile? Coin? Money? No, those are skulls. That's not money. I do not. Alright. Hey, Atsumori! I hope I pronounced that right. I am shit with my pronunciations. Fork. No, I want a smaller one. Thank you. Over. You did, but feel free to call me Atsu if you wish. Ugh. It might come to the point where I will use them interchangeably. And that's just kind of the person I'm at. Sorry. Yeah, the thing about digital tools is that I'm not in a position to buy the tools. Monopoly money has a better conversion than Argentine pesos. Yeah, I heard about the recent thing with Steam as well. That fucking sucks, man. I'm definitely feel for you on that one. Localized currency is like a saving grace for people outside of the West, and just hearing what they've done to, I think it was Argentina and Turkey. Oh boy. Definitely feeling for you out there, bud. I've had the opportunity to meet a couple of social media managers from Capcom, Nintendo, and Square. The unanimous opinion is that it's a job that will really drain you of your love for communities. Yeah. Look, for those of you who are aware with some of the things that has happened with Sinclair's in the past couple of months, due to some of the things that was happening in the server there, I had to mute it for my own mental health. Because there were some assholes. Spoon? Spoon for bowl? I'm not gonna get into it, but yeah, I've had to mute the server because I'm not the social media manager. I have enough of a thing doing my own social media. I am the lead game designer for Sinclair's. I am not the marketing, I am not media. I will let others do that instead. Yeah, mental comes first. And what I actually talked to my boss about it, he was like, no, I hired you to be a writer. I hired you to do design work, to write cool nerd shit. So I'd rather you be doing that than talking to people all the time. Mental comes first, and that tavern looks like a PlayStation controller. A little bit. No, I get that. So one of the things I really wanted to do with this town is I wanted to mess around with irregular shapes. Like, some of them are like your default squares and stuff like that, but because it's a pirate town, I didn't want to have like one unified architectural consensus. If a fight breaks out, you can call it a dual shock. God. Dual shock 2 or 3 though. We need a fireplace though. We need a hearth. Actually, there's an idea. All right. No, stop that. We're going to move some of our things. Because I just had a little bit of a brainwave. Disorganized organic kind of design kind of deal? Exactly. I think someone described Miranda Bay as being decisively libertarian, and I was like, yeah, as much as I'm not a big fan of libertarian ideals, you're not wrong there. Because it's not quite full anarchy, which would be my preference. No, let's just put in fire. Perfect. We're gonna use something I did for an earlier Superdungeon. Gonna turn on our snap. Fire. Grill. Nope. No. Fine, we'll do it this way. Turn up the snap. Then we're gonna go fish. What comes up when I get meat? Ah, oh, beautiful. And we'll put a carrot, because I know we have carrots. Smoke? No, I didn't think so. Wait. Oh, there is actually smoke. Cool. You can just barely see it. Which I feel is the best kind of smoke. At some point, we are going to have to name this tavern, though. Just if people want to start thinking about it. Because names are hard, and I would rather delegate. But being completely blunt. That's... I always hate naming things in the campaign. Yeah. Naming things is hard. When I look at it, say Wagon Inn or Flint, the Barnacle. The Flintlock Tavern's not bad. The Barnacle. Fucking... I kind of wish I wasn't such a sucker for puns. Vaguely gun-shaped tavern. Yeah, no, I get that. I like what I'm doing in the center there. Not sure about the tables around the edge. Hell found an explanation on why some things doesn't have a name in my own world, even the world doesn't have a name. So, funny story. Nick's not in the chat, so I can talk about this. In a game I ran with him ages ago, I had a bunch of NPCs. I had like 3 or 4 of them, and I kept on having to think of like last names on the fly, and I had gotten into the habit of doing like a front suffix and then ending it with a mere. So it was Fayamir, Taylormere, Baramir, that kind of thing. And my players picked up on it after like the 5th NPC, and I hadn't realized I was doing it. And on the spot I was like, yeah, no. It's because that they're from this neighboring nation, that it's kind of like having the Mick or the MC in front of your name for like Irish and Scottish names, which kind of indicates, you know, you're from House X. Or you're from Clan X. And they were like, we're calling bullshit, but we like your bullshit. Yeah, impromptu lore. Love it. Like the fucking druids turning the moon thing. I mean, that is already looking better. Let's try putting on the snap again. I want to see how it goes. Actually, let's do the JRPG thing. Impromptu lore is how 90% of the lore I make begins. I'm never gonna hold that against the GM. Never, ever. And sometimes when it comes about organically, it's some of the best. What do I want to do a thing instead? How very descriptive of me. I'm kind of amazing. Yeah, I kind of do. Alright. Okay, that worked better than I thought it would. Also, chat, we're gonna need a name for our magic bookshop. What do I need? I need some planks. That's what I need. Actually, do we have bars? No. We're gonna use planks, but I'll keep that in mind. The Buccaneer. Oh god. They sell cats in that store? You've never heard of a bodega cat? Also, could just be straight up a familiar. We don't know. I haven't got an NPC yet. Actually, I wanted to check out that bar. Because if I remember, you're massive, but usable. Push you under. Take the snap off. Oh, that's kind of perfect. Beautiful. Maybe the cat is the store owner. I'm honestly not opposed to that. I think one of those things that has to be grappled with a lot more in terms of world building is that you are dealing with a fantasy world. Things like that are just going to happen. And I deeply appreciate Larian for bringing that to a greater understanding. Awaken animal, let's go. Yeah, I mean, why not? There was a Cthulhu / Cosmic Horror third-party product that was brought out ages ago, and they had Awakened Cats as a player option. Though I will say I'm interested to see how the Awakened animals go. Like, what's it gonna be like? How they gonna... Are they going like anthropomorphic, or are you gonna just be able to be an animal? I have questions. How about we go over instead? Beautiful. We love that. Okay, so this is coming through a lot better than I was hoping. Carpete. Let's go under. Let's change your color. Something a little bit more subtle. A little bit smaller. Want a nice blue. Beautiful. I think that's the shop done. Like, I don't want to do too much extra for it. Yep, nope. Done. Let's fix that tree while I'm here. Alright, how we doing? Ah, look at that. That's already looking a lot better. While I'm here, let's grab some horses. I'll also say, if anyone has any questions about Hoist the Colors while I'm here, and some of the lore things I'm working on for it, I might not have an answer, but feel free to ask the questions anyway. Some horses for all the horse girlies out there. Should Matt give Archie 10,000 gold? Ooh, I'm not sure. I think the crew has too much money. Oh, horse girly? Nice. I know Juliet was in the chat earlier, and I know she's a horse girly as well. But she got to play a horse girly. That... Ah. Don't mind me, just appreciating my handiwork for a second. And we need some benches. I'm gonna go wood instead. What, we should put Captain Archie into 10,000 gold pieces of debt? Look, I think our boy Archie in Hoist the Colors is being very subtly ambitious. I am all about it. Where are... So like you, I want more. There we go. Alright. Much better. Get in there. That's that. Oh, right. Buccaneer. I know that's our watering hole. Or a cistern. That's our garrison. Attached fight club. Turn the snap back on. Object tool. Delete, delete, delete. You can stay. You can stay. You can stay. Back to objects. I could absolutely imagine some of the people fighting over which beds they get. And switch the color to something a little bit that. Oh, cradle. Here you go. Okay, that's a little bit better. Paper. That one further this up. My parents got me a pony when I was a wee lad and we grew up together. He actually passed away back in January at the ripe old age of 31. A real friend he was. Aww. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but by the sense of it, it lived a good life. No. Put you there. Book. Scroll. Because my players keep threatening about being secret cops. Though I am thinking policing in Miranda Bay is treated a little bit more like a militia. No, let's keep that as is. I'm gonna shrink that down though. Yeah, it was that, but it was with few regrets to come off. Yeah. What do I need? I need something for in there. Blah. One question, I've been trying to find a reflavor for the halflings in my setting. I was thinking on inspiring them in the alloy from the Time Machine and the Deep Gnomes and the Morlocks, and I don't know if that's a good idea. I'm not 100% familiar with the alloy from the Time Machine. Deep Gnomes and the Morlocks. I think mixing Deep Gnomes with Morlocks is not a bad idea. Morlocks are one of those interesting creatures where I think you could dive into a little bit more. But I've already dedicated one adventure path to showcasing a weird and obscure monster. So I don't feel like I can do that again. But go for it! The Eloi are the cousins of the Morlocks. Okay, so divergent lineages there. Let the Morlocks up stumbling on them. And the Morlocks eat the Eloi. Okay. I think it's definitely something you could work with. Whether it's a good idea. I'm personally tend to be a little bit leery when you start talking about, you know, one sentient species preying on another. Especially as a food source. But if handled well, it's fine. Like, there are examples in media ad infinitum of vampires who have their little pet communities that they use as their hunting grounds. It's a very easy way to establish these are the bad guys. They prey on the helpless peasants. Please save them, heroes. Save the peasants. Yeah, it can work. It definitely depends on the tone of the world you're going for. How dark you want to be with it, etc. Also, the Eloy's description screams halfling. The only thing I can really suggest for you, Adam, is to just kind of start writing it out, figuring it, and then pass it on for someone else to look at. The Eloi are happy people who speak a simple language, are mainly interested in playfulness. They often play with flowers and other amusing items. Physically, they are shorter than humans, have blonde hair, smooth skin, and are weaker than modern humans. They only eat fruit, which means they are frugivores. Yeah, that does sound a lot like halflings. I will ask though, Time Machine, that's the one by... Oh god, what's his name? Jules Verne? I think it was Jules Verne. H.G. Wells. So, contemporary. Just be careful when you're drawing from inspiration from some of those older books. The British had some interesting ideas when it came to people. Yeah, you do? Alright, that's half the battle done then. Okay, that's looking a lot better. That feels a little empty, but that's fine for now. And as always, make it your own. Abso-fucking-lutely. I use antlers in all my decorating. I don't want somebody to break it up, but I keep coming back to the carpets, and I'm just a little bit nervous that I'm using them as a crutch now. Well, that's also what I'm thinking. It's a brave pirate tavern owner to put out skin carpets in this Grok house. Just in general. Like, I definitely get the feeling... Ooh, actually, no. Hey, good. Do I have straw? Thatch? Am I looking for thatch? A hatch? Chair bath? Gonna have to remember that one, Flair. That's some good stairs. Obviously I only wanted to find another flavor of the ancestries. I have almost all the core ones besides the halfling holdout. I remember, Leshy is now core. I'm starting to like that more and more. Alright. It's Leshy's being core is such a good thing. Like, there's been a lot of discourse lately on the social medias about, oh no, the drow are gone. Oh no, whatever we go to do without the drow. And I'm kind of like, it's fine. We have Leshies. We have goblins. We have our little guys. And we're going to be having so much Sneeple in the future. It's going to be great. I really want to know the changes to the Underdark on the whole. Yeah, I'm kind of curious what they're doing. We know some things. We know they're going to be reprioritizing the Nagaji and the other snake species, whose name escapes me. Oh, you're fine, Cat. Sugathi. Sugathi are actually not necessarily snake people. They're kind of tentacle creatures. Kind of tentacle worm things. Cannons. We're gonna do... I need a boat. Ah, beautiful. Serpent Foe is the one you might be thinking of. Yes, probably is what I'm thinking of. In Extinction Curse, slight spoilers, but one of the monsters that they lean on a lot throughout the adventure is troglodytes, the Zolgathi. And they're kind of a divergent lizard folk. Very subterranean, all this other stuff. And I get the feeling they're going to be leaning a little bit more heavily on them in the future. We know with the lore changes they've done to the deep dwarves, the Juragar, we know we're going to be having MLM dwarves in the future, which is going to be buck wild. I'm super looking forward to it. Zolgath biology looks wild, yeah. Egyptian dwarves? See, I'd be down for it. Like, there's a full-ass desert underneath, Absalom. Not underneath Absalom, underneath the Isle of Kortos. I should actually look at windows. What am I doing? I need to bring them from here. Window, wooden shutters. There you go, snap. All those years playing The Sims prepared me for this. Hold up. Let's turn that off. There we go. Shutter's on the right side now. That's... Yeah, I'm kind of... When it comes to the modern world building for Paizo, I'm a lot more I trust them a lot more than I may have in the past. Especially after the Mwangi Expanse, that was such a fucking fantastic book. And the Tianjia pair of books are coming out soon. I'm super psyched for them. They've made some really radical and interesting locations, yeah. And I want to see some of them showcased a bit more. But I also understand that... Actually, no, we're not going to have any windows there. It's a sweat pit. The Mongyorks are so good. So much of the little lore details that you get, I love it. This is a... Actually, what do you look like? A little bit too shuttered. I like these ones. I need to read the travel guide book, because I've heard a lot of good things about it. And I've only managed to ever get a bit of a flick through of it. Are there any adventures in the Screaming Jungle? I'd need to have a better look at where the Screaming Jungle is. What is so bad is so small bits of it, and it was so deliciously packed with lore. It really was. If you're on Twitter or Blue Sky, a guy to look up and a guy to follow, POC Gamer, also known as Panzer Lion. He likes to talk about Paizo stuff a lot. He did a deep dive on the Mwangi Expanse and the travel guide, from, if I remember. Really great analysis. Middle of Mwangi and is populated with monkey tribes. It's not Skull and Shackles. What is it? Serpent Skull. PF1 Adventure. I think it dove a lot into the monkey tribes that are in the middle. Yep, PFS goes all over the place. A Chelix lore book. Sorry, Adam, I don't think it's gonna happen. I think it'd be very interesting to see it done. I don't think Paizo are gonna do it though. That said, I've been wrong before. We're mostly just putting on windows now. You think it too, but I would love it, yeah. There's always a chance for PFI. Someone might do a deep dive into the Hell Knights there. Like, I know you can't treat PFI as being canon and everything else like that, but there are some truly amazing writers on there. I picked up Inventors Plus last night. I'm really impressed with what they've done with it. The PFS Season 1 Metaplotter has one of the most terrifying experiences I think I've had in a TTRPG. I could imagine. Don't spoil it for me though, because I think because we're doing beginner games again, our GM might be going back to Season 1 stuff. Paizo will probably only do dedicated Hell Knight stories if they also introduce some much more diplomatic arms to the organization. Yeah. I think there are some very careful considerations being put into what they want to do with Cheliax, but I also think they want to prioritize different areas first. I won't but say that adventure came with one of my favorite rewards from PFS Adventure, so you know when you're in it. Alright, I'll keep an eye out for it. Regarding the next area I think Paizo is going to cover, I wouldn't be surprised if Arcadia is on the short list. Because I know Luis Lozo wants to dive more into Arcadia. Yes, star guns. You really wanted the Darklands? Okay, my theories with the OGL and the Orc having gone through, they are going to have to do a Darklands book in the future. I'm not sure when. But I would suspect it will be in like the next 3 area books. We're going to have something to do with the Darklands, because they have a lot of lore that they need to cover, but I get the feeling they're going to be taking the time to do it. Numeria, I think, is going to be, if we're running with theories here, I think Numeria is going to be coming with Starfinder 2. So we're going to have Starfinder 2 go into its full release, and then the next area book after that for Pathfinder 2 is going to be Numeria. Because they want to do this whole cross-pollination thing with Pathfinder 2 and Starfinder 2. So having a Numeria source book that ties it all together and gives advice on how to do it just makes sense in my mind. I think Arcadia is going to be around there. We're about to get 2 books to do as Tianjia, so I don't think they're going to do more for there. Grund, I'd like to see them do. I get the feeling my favorite continent's just going to be left off the list for a very long while, if they cover it at all. I would like to see more done with Grund. Question for everyone, what book would you want but you aren't seeing anytime soon? Are we talking like Paizo official? I'm looking it up now because I keep forgetting the name of it. Consonant. There it is. I want them to do Sarasan. If no one has ever... try to get it up. I think it's Sarasan? Yeah, no, it's Sarasan. That's... Gonna copy that, put it into the chat for people. But Sarasan, the least understood of Galarian's continents, and also its smallest, Sarasan is located in a trackless sea south of Tianjia's Valshamai Peninsula. Far from the trade winds, all available information on Sarasan comes from ancient accounts, because few modern expeditions have successfully returned after journeying there. and those few who claim to have reached Sarusan are stripped of the memory of their experiences. According to these stories, Sarusan is completely alien from the modern world. It is said to be a diverse land containing dense jungles, expansive plains, and harsh deserts. And people have pointed out that there are a lot of similarities between Sarusan and Australia. Paizo have said it is not on their list of continents they actually want to touch on. They want to kind of leave it as a blank canvas for GMs to step in and do what they want with it. But, and you know, you can get that hire me Paizo emoji ready. If Paizo ever wants to do Sarusan, I would be absolutely down for it. Like, put me on your writing team, peeps. Thank you, Ninzot. And thank you, G-Wizard. As for a pirate-themed book, I know you said Paizo official, but Hoist the Colors is gonna have a GM companion and a player companion that will be coming with it, which will contain all the stuff and all the rules that I have developed for Hoist the Colors. All that said, however, it is midday. It is lunchtime for me. So we're probably going to take off. I'm going to find someone to raid. What do we have? Actually, Shug. Let's raid Shug. I would also love some book inspired in South American mythology book. Arcadia, as I understand it, is based off of South America. Louis Lozar, who's I believe one of the main writers now for, I think he's heading up the Lost Omens line actually. From memory, don't quote me on this, his heritage is wrapped pretty deeply in South America. Arcadia is kind of his baby, and he really wants to develop some lore out. So much so, he actually did a PFI product detailing one of the cities he wants to put in eventually. I was blown away yesterday when I learned that the top of a narrow aft castle is named a poop deck. Yeah. I knew that from a very obscure and very old game that I probably shouldn't mention on stream. But we are going to set up that raid. Is that a goer? That's a goer. Awesome. Alright. I'm going to be sending you all to Shogmumming. She is a VTuber I've been tracking. She wants to be doing more PF2 content in the future. Like, she wants to be running games and stuff. She wants to do that in the new year. So be sure to go along and, you know, send some encouragement and all the good vibes and everything else like that. Otherwise, this has been Tabletop Obscure presents Let's Build a Superdungeon, where we mostly just hung out and helped out with a pirate market. Thank you everyone for your patience with that. It's just we're coming into the end of the year, so I'm trying to stay a little bit more casual, a little bit more flexible. It's been a while since I had a chance to actually sit down and talk to peeps, and I love that so much. I am, just as a quick thing before we go, I am talking about doing a stream when the Almanac comes out, where we'll be going through some of it, kind of a first impressions thing with the lead game designer for it, so that's going to be fun. Otherwise, we're about to go, so I will let everyone go. I hope you have a good day, a good night, a good week, no matter where you are in the world. And remember, as always, we're the storytellers. Goodbye, everyone!